Have you ever wondered about near-death experiences? What if I told you that someone had a vision of paradise and received a surprising revelation about events that will occur between February 7 and 10, 2025? In this video, you will learn the true story of Orion Blackwell, a man who faced the loss of his father, crossed the threshold between life and death, and returned with a message that could change everything. Before we begin, leave a comment telling us from which city you are watching. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories like this one. I am Orion Blackwell, and today I share a personal account where the boundaries between life and death merge into a narrative I never imagined living. I feel it's time to open my heart, to share the pains and revelations that marked my life, and in a way, transformed my view of the world. It all started during a dark period when I received the devastating news of my father Charles's lung cancer diagnosis. I always saw him as the unshakable rock of our family, and I was confronted with the fragility of life and the helplessness of not being able to be by his side at this crucial moment. At that time, I was working in New Orleans, a vibrant city full of energy, colors, and sounds, but which for me became a scene of deep contrasts. While the streets pulse with the festive spirit and resilience of its people, my heart was consumed by an unrelenting anguish. Daily, when I called the caregiver who was with my father, I heard reports that oscillated between hope and despair, and each word made me feel more distant, both physically and emotionally. "How is he today, Dad?" I would ask on the phone, but the answer always brought a mix of comfort and resignation. In the long early hours, I nostalgically recalled moments from my childhood when my father taught me to be strong, to face challenges with courage, and never to give up, even when everything seemed lost. I remembered the afternoons spent in the backyard of our old house, where he, with a serene smile, would tell me stories of overcoming and courage. These memories were a balm for the soul, but also a cruel reminder of how much I wished to be there, taking care of him, repaying all the love he gave me. I found myself torn between the relentless reality of a city that never sleeps and the melancholy of a distant home, where the echo of laughter and family conversations seemed to have been swallowed by time. The nights were long, and the silence of my room in New Orleans contrasted with the emotional turmoil I lived internally. Amidst this solitude, the phone had become a tenuous link to what was left of my family, but each call only deepened my feelings of guilt and helplessness. There were days when, walking through the moonlit streets of the city, I felt the weight of my absence in my father's life, and each street seemed to remind me of the stories he told about the importance of family and unity. If only I could turn back time, I thought as I watched the reflections of lights on the old buildings. Maybe I could make a difference. And so, between professional challenges and homesickness, my soul cried out for an answer, for a sign indicating that, even from afar, there was a way to save what was left of my world. This duality between the vibrant and the desolate, between hope and despair, defined my days. I was an ordinary man, trapped in the routine of a demanding job and the anguish of a distance that seemed unbearable. And it was precisely at this crossroads of feelings that my story took on supernatural contours, foreshadowing a journey that would take me beyond the limits of what I knew about life and death. As the days dragged on in New Orleans, the physical and emotional distance increased the longing and pain, making the memories of my childhood a refuge, and at the same time, a bitter reminder of what I had lost. During the long, solitary nights, I found myself transported back to the backyard of the old Blackwell house, where my father, Charles, was felt in every inch of land and every shared laugh. On a hot summer afternoon, I recalled one of those days when the sun seemed to play with the shadows in the garden. My father, with his characteristic black jacket, sat under the shade of an old oak tree. He called me with a smile that illuminated even the darkest corners of my life. The darkest corners of my life. "Orion," he exclaimed with a voice that was simultaneously serene and full of certainty. "Life resembles this oak tree, robust yet requiring care and patience to grow. Never give up, even when the winds are unfavorable." I listened, enchanted, as his words penetrated my young soul, shaping my understanding of resilience and courage. During those moments of pure tenderness, I learned that true strength is not measured by the absence of fear, but by the ability to face it with an open heart. However, these memories also haunted me now, like a mirror reflecting the inevitable distance that separated us. During a phone call with the caregiver, my father's calm voice still echoed in my mind. "He is holding on, Orion, but time is relentless," the caregiver told me, trying to console me. I responded with a trembling voice. If only I could go back, be by his side, as in the old days. Perhaps I could find a way to ease this pain. Nostalgia invaded me at unexpected moments, like when walking along the Mississippi River, where each wave seemed to whisper stories of a past full of laughter and discoveries. The memories of our time together mingled with the vibrant streets of the city, creating a whirlwind of conflicting feelings. I found myself torn between the desire to relive those moments of pure happiness and the bitter reality that time does not return. On one of those nights, sitting alone in a small cafe in the French Quarter, I met an old friend, Samuel, who noticed the weight in my eyes. "Orion, you seem so distant. What's going on?" he asked as I hesitated, as if each word could expose too much of the vulnerability I felt. "It's my father, Sam. I remember every piece of advice, every smile of his, and now, with the distance, I feel like I'm losing the chance to return all that love." Samuel, with an understanding look, placed his hand on my shoulder and said, "You've always had a heart full of courage, Orion. Your father would be proud to see that. Even in pain, you seek the light of the memories he left you." Those words of comfort, brief as they were, gave me a glimpse of solace. But at the same time, the internal conflict persisted. The anguish of not having been present in the most important moments, the guilt of allowing the distance to become an insurmountable chasm. Each memory, no matter how sweet, carried with it the shadow of imminent loss, and the duality between the past and the present was painfully evident. That night, after a day that seemed endless, the boundaries between exhaustion and reality began to blur in a surprising way. I left the office in New Orleans with heavy shoulders, carrying not only the fatigue of work, but also the emotional weight that the distance and concern for my father had imposed on my being. The way back home was filled with silent reflections, as the city's neon lights blended with the distant glow of the stars, creating an almost ethereal scene. Upon arriving home, the door had barely closed when a sudden wave of dizziness hit me. I remembered the days when my father would tell me never to underestimate the power of fatigue and pressure, an indirect lesson that now seemed to take its toll. "Orion, stay calm. Breathe deeply," my mind whispered, as I tried to find balance. But suddenly, the world around me distorted. The walls moved in a hypnotic rhythm. And before I could react, I lost consciousness. Everything became a black void for a few moments, which seemed eternal. Upon awakening, I expected to find myself in my room, but the scene was completely different. The gentle breeze and the scent of wet earth indicated that I was outdoors. I got up slowly, confused, and soon realized I was in the backyard of the house where I spent my childhood, a place full of memories, but now shrouded in an atmosphere of mystery. As I walked with hesitant steps, trying to understand what had happened, my eyes fixed on a familiar figure approaching. My heart raced as I recognized the features of my father, Charles, but the image did not match the one I saw on television or in recent photos. He was rejuvenated, with the vitality I always remembered from summer afternoons when his laughter filled the air and taught me the importance of courage. He wore his favorite black jacket, and his eyes, full of a serenity that seemed to transcend time, fixed on mine. "Orion, my son," he said with a gentle and welcoming voice, a voice so familiar it reminded me of a lullaby. Words were lost in the vastness of that indescribable moment. His presence made all the accumulated pain of the past months dissipate, giving way to an intoxicating calm. "Father, I'm so confused. Where am I?" I managed to murmur, looking around and absorbing every detail of that yard which, although full of memories, now seemed like a portal to something beyond. He smiled tenderly, and his eyes conveyed a promise of safety and unconditional love. "This place is your past, Orion. A refuge where memories meet the truth of who we are. But today, come. I need to show you something that transcends time and space." As we walked together, each step seemed to take me away from the known world and closer to a reality where time folded. The colors around us intensified, and the air seemed to vibrate with a subtle, almost palpable energy. The sensation was that I was about to embark on a journey that would challenge everything I understood about life and death, preparing the ground for the revelation that would transform my existence forever. After that surreal moment in the yard, as I absorbed the enchanting and inexplicable vision of my father, I felt that time, somehow, expanded around us. Charles's figure, so serene and vibrant, seemed to have crossed the boundaries of mortality to lead me to a destiny I could never have imagined. He raised his hand, inviting me to follow him along a path that opened before us, as if every stone and leaf had a sacred role in that journey. "Come, Orion," he said with a voice that mixed love, wisdom, and the certainty of a better destiny. "Today I will show you a place where pain dissipates and true peace reigns." My words came out in a trembling whisper. "Father, where are we going? Is this real or just a dream?" He smiled. That smile I remembered from the afternoons when he taught me to fish at the lake, and replied, "It's not a dream, my son. Feel every step, every breeze. Let your soul shed the shackles of this world." As we advanced, the landscape around us transformed magically. The familiar yard that comforted me so much began to dissolve into a shimmering mist, revealing behind it a portal of light. The energy emanating from that place was intense and, at the same time, delicate, as if the universe itself conspired to open the doors of the unknown. I felt as if I were floating, with my feet almost bare on a carpet of stars, while a sense of lightness filled every fiber of my being. The path we walked seemed to extend infinitely, with colors I had never seen, deep blues, shimmering golds, and greens that pulsed as if alive. With each step, I heard soft whispers, as if the breeze carried fragments of ancestral conversations, echoing lessons of love and redemption. My father always ahead. Occasionally he looked back, ensuring I followed him with confidence. "Do not fear, Orion. What you are experiencing is the essence of our existence, the union of worlds. Let your heart be the compass that guides you." As we advanced, the scene began to reveal traces of a city that seemed to float in the air. Amidst this celestial splendor, an angel in a white robe and radiant wings approached with soft, silent steps. His eyes shone with a pure light, and he greeted my father with a respectful nod. "Charles, welcome," said the angel, with a voice that seemed to sing a divine melody. My father responded with a gesture of peace, and then the angel turned his gaze to me. "Orion, we are honored by your presence. Come, follow us." As I allowed myself to be enveloped by this new aura of peace and reverence, every detail impressed me. The sounds were like a harmonious hymn, the light was an embrace that warmed the soul, and each sensation led me beyond the limits of time. My heart, which until then had been racing with uncertainty, was now in complete tranquility, as if it knew it was exactly where it needed to be. At that moment, I felt that the journey to heaven was not just a physical crossing, but a profound experience of renewal, where love, hope, and eternity intertwined in a single instant. Each word from my father, each smile shared with the angel, cemented in me the certainty that, even in absence, family bonds surpass all limitations. As we followed the illuminated passage, the scene changed again, revealing an environment imbued with a sacred energy. My father, Charles, guided me with firm and calm steps to a room of grand proportions, where a round table, imposing and full of symbolism, was positioned in the center. On it rested a large ancient book, with covers adorned in gold and inscriptions that seemed to pulse with life. Every detail of that space vibrated with a divine aura, while the angel who had led us there watched in silence, as if guarding the secrets of a time beyond existence. "Orion, here lies the memory of everything built with love and sacrifice," said my father, approaching the book with a mix of reverence and nostalgia. His voice, laden with immeasurable affection, sounded like a melody seeking to calm the unrest in my soul. Gently, he opened the book, and before our eyes appeared images that moved like in a magical film, each scene filled with emotions and acts of kindness I had never imagined. The pages revealed stories of a man who, even in his fragility, managed to illuminate the lives of those who crossed his path. In one of the scenes, I saw my father helping a helpless elderly woman, offering her not only resources but also a smile overflowing with compassion. Charles commented, his eyes shining with pride. True strength lies in reaching out, even when one's own heart suffers. The images passed with a cadence that made me relive each act of generosity. From financial support to a school in a forgotten region to the simple kindness of offering his own lunch to someone in need. As the scenes unfolded, I found myself overwhelmed by an indescribable emotion, a mix of surprise, admiration, and deep sadness for having taken so long to understand the magnitude of the legacy my father left. "I always knew he was a special man," I murmured almost involuntarily, while watching a scene where my father, in an anonymous gesture, saved the day for a family in crisis. My heart swelled with pride that, at the same time, contrasted with the pain of my own absence in his final moments. The angel, with its silent presence, seemed to affirm that every act of kindness was recorded there, as if the universe had decided not to let any good deed be forgotten. "These records," explained the angel with a soft voice, "are not just about your father's past but about the eternity of the kindness he spread. Each act of love reverberates through time, Orion, and today, you witness the true essence of the legacy he left." My father closed the book carefully, as if protecting an invaluable treasure, and looked into my eyes with an expression that mixed love, resignation, and above all, an unshakable trust in the power of redemption. "Now you understand, my son, that our lives are woven by moments of kindness, and that even the greatest pain can be transformed into light for the world." At that moment, as the gentle glow of the room intensified, I felt that every tear I had shed turned into energy, ready to propel my future journey. The revelation of the records not only confirmed the grandeur of his spirit, but also gave me the conviction that, even without his physical presence, his legacy would continue to guide and inspire my every step. As the revelation of the records dissipated within me, leaving a sense of fulfillment and at the same time, longing for the time that could never be relived. The sacred environment began to sway slightly, as if a new presence was making itself known. The atmosphere, once imbued with comforting calm, began to vibrate with an energy signaling an imminent change. I felt a slight tremor run through my body, and at that moment the angel who had guided us approached again, now with a countenance mixing tenderness and determination. "Orion," said the angel, with a voice that seemed to come from every corner of the room, "your time here has been precious, but the mission you carry in your soul is not yet complete. The earth needs you, your light, and your love to transform pain into hope." My heart raced, and a mix of sadness and resignation overcame me. I looked at my father, whose expression was one of acceptance and unconditional love. Charles extended his hand to me, his deep eyes communicating that, despite the desire to remain in that peaceful environment, he understood the importance of my return to the world of the living. "Son, the journey we are on is just a passage. Heaven, with all its light, our eternal home is beauty, but your mission here on earth is far from over. Rise, for the path you follow has the power to transform not just your life but also that of many others," murmured my father. As the angel nodded slightly, a wave of conflicting emotions washed over me. The desire to stay in that place where love was tangible, and the absence of pain was the norm confronted the harsh reality that there was a world out there that still needed me. I tried to protest, my voice choked with emotion. "But how can I leave all this behind? This place, its love, these revelations, are now part of me." The angel approached and gently placed a hand on my shoulder. "Orion, the light you carry must not be extinguished, but spread throughout the world. The experience you had here is not an end, but a rebirth. You will carry with you the certainty that love and kindness can transform pain into strength." My father, with a smile that mixed melancholy and hope, continued, "I will always be with you, my son. Even if I am no longer physically by your side, my essence will live in every act of kindness, in every choice of love you make." At that moment, the lights in the room began to intensify, and the presence of the angel became even more striking. An invisible force seemed to gently pull me back, away from that environment of celestial peace. I felt an internal resistance, a desire to stay, but at the same time, the understanding that my destiny was to return and fulfill my mission on Earth. As I was slowly enveloped by a light that became increasingly intense, I heard the angel's words one last time. You are the hope the world needs. Orion, go and illuminate the path of those who have lost themselves in the darkness. Remember, every farewell is also a new beginning. The sensation of being taken away mixed with the sadness of separation and the joy of having experienced such a profound and transformative encounter. The final embrace from my father, firm and full of love, remained etched in my memory as the light began to envelop me, sealing the call to return. As the light surrounding me began to dissipate the last remnants of the celestial environment, I felt there was still something to be revealed, an urgent message that needed to be understood. At the moment when the brightness reached its peak, the angel, with his serene countenance, halted the movement of my soul, making time seem suspended. His eyes, deep and shimmering, met mine, and in them I could see the truth of a universe unfolding beyond human comprehension. Orion, began the angel with a soft yet firm voice. There is a secret I carry for you, something that transcends existence itself, and will mark the destiny of humanity. His words echoed with an authority that reverberated not only in the environment but in every fiber of my being. I felt a shiver run down my spine, and for a moment, silence settled, creating a vacuum where only the divine message could penetrate. Between February 7 and 10, 2025, a transformative event will unfold before all those ready to see the truth. This event, full of challenges and blessings, will serve as a spiritual awakening capable of altering the course of human history, continued the angel, with a tone that blended warning and promise. I, still stunned by the magnitude of the revelation, tried to find words to express my disbelief. How can I be sure that this is not just a fantasy of a world I never knew? I asked with a trembling voice and eyes fixed on the celestial figure. The angel smiled gently, and his eyes seemed to shine with a light that transcended time itself. Orion, the truth is that the signs have always been around us. This transformation will manifest in the synchronicity of events, in the convergence of souls awakened to the real purpose of existence. The event I foresee is not to sow chaos but to illuminate the path of spiritual evolution. It will bring forth the strength that each being carries, inviting them to transcend the limitations imposed by fear and ignorance, explained the angel, as a gentle and vibrant energy pulsed in the environment, as if the universe itself wanted to confirm every word. Each phrase he uttered seemed etched in the essence of the cosmos, and I could feel the inevitability of that singular moment. Remember, he continued, the true power lies in the ability to transform pain into learning and darkness into light. When the event materializes, humanity will have the chance to rewrite its own paths, shaping a universe where empathy and truth triumph over apathy. For a few moments, this message echoed in my now. The text below into English, maintaining the same content and length. Like a mantra, trying to awaken a dormant consciousness. I could glimpse, even if subtly, the outlines of this new era. Faces illuminated by the hope of a new beginning, hearts beating together for a greater good, and a collective sense of renewal that seemed to promise the redemption of a wounded world. The angel concluded with a tone of farewell, yet without losing the sweetness of the revelation. Keep this message in your heart, Orion. It will be the compass that guides you in moments of uncertainty, and a reminder that, even when everything seems lost, the light will always find a way to shine. As the words dissipated, a wave of understanding and responsibility washed over my soul. The prophetic revelation was not just a warning, but an invitation to become an active part of the approaching change, to be the link between heaven and earth, between the pain of the past and the hope of the future. The sensation of being enveloped by an intense and welcoming light began to slowly dissipate, giving way to a whirlwind of conflicting sensations. In an instant, the ethereal and serene environment was replaced by a cold and tangible reality. I felt my body being pulled, as if an invisible force was anchoring me back to the physical world. The weight of the air and the density of the environment transformed the lightness and peace I had experienced moments before into a burden. As the brightness gradually diminished, the colors of the celestial environment blended and disappeared, slowly revealing the familiar contours of my room in New Orleans. I could feel the texture of the sheet against my skin, the smell of a place that, although full of memories, was terribly mundane compared to the splendor I had just experienced. Slowly, I regained consciousness, each breath becoming a conscious effort, as the memory of the moments in heaven mingled with the new reality. I was lying in the bed of my room, but something inside me felt displaced. The clarity of the supernatural events still pulsed in my mind, like a vivid memory of an undeniable truth. Confused and stunned, I tried to process what had happened when the sound of the phone echoed through the room, breaking the heavy silence. "Hello?" I called out with a choked voice, unable to believe that someone from the outside world could penetrate that moment of transition. On the other end of the line, the urgent voice of Tristan, my brother, sounded with a mix of sadness and resignation. "Orion, you need to hear this." "It's about Dad." His voice trembled, laden with a sorrow that couldn't be disguised. "Tristan, what happened?" I asked, already feeling a premonition that chilled my blood. The pause on the other end of the line was painfully long, and the silence became as deafening as the very absence of my father. Finally, Tristan spoke in a low voice. Dad passed away." "Orion, it just happened." I don't know how else to say it. His words cut through the air like sharp blades, causing my heart to shatter into 1,000 pieces as I tried to process the news amidst a whirlwind of emotions. Shock, sadness, guilt, an indescribable sense of loss completely overwhelmed me. Each word from Tristan resonated in my mind, turning the transcendental experience of heaven into a cruel contrast with the painful reality of Earth. But how can it be? I just saw Dad. He was so alive, so serene, I murmured, disbelief becoming a barrier against acceptance. Tristan tried to console me, saying, "I know, Orion. I wish I could believe that too. But life takes its course, and now we need to face this void together." His words were an echo of reality, a relentless reminder that, as profound as the celestial experience was, the physical world does not forgive absence and the pain of farewell. Amidst the confusion, the sensation of having returned to my body intensified. Each heartbeat seemed to mark the passage of a time that no longer belonged to that ethereal universe. I felt the anguish of being torn from my father's eternal embrace, while the weight of the responsibility to live with the pain of loss began to settle deeply in my soul. After the emotional whirlwind of returning to my body and the devastating news of my father's passing, the world around me seemed to have transformed into a scene of shadows and silence. In the days that followed, the void left by Charles's departure became a constant presence in every corner of my existence. I spent endless hours walking the streets of New Orleans, where every corner evoked memories of warm family conversations and the smiles that once filled our home. On one of these nightly walks, I sat down, alone on a bench in the French Quarter, where the yellow streetlights mingled with the city's melancholy. With the night's cold enveloping me, I tried to piece together the fragments of my soul, searching for answers to the experience I had lived and the new burden I now carried. How can I move forward without him? I thought, as discreet tears slid down my face, tracing paths of longing. Amidst this whirlwind of emotions, my mother, Evelyn, appeared like a beacon of tenderness. On a rainy afternoon, as the raindrops tapped against the windows of the small apartment where I lived, she appeared with a serene expression, yet marked by her own loss. "Orion, my son," she said as we sat at the dining table, "I know the pain seems unbearable. But remember that your father always wanted us to live with love and hope." Her words, gentle and comforting, acted as a balm for my wounded soul. During that conversation between tears and restrained smiles, my mother shared stories I had never heard about the moments when Charles showed his generosity. Stories that revealed a man with a huge heart and a vibrant soul. Inspired by these memories, I began to see the world from a new perspective. Amidst the sadness, I realized that the transcendental experience I had with my father was not a mere reverie but a calling. The prophetic revelation and the reunion, with his spirit, awakened in me a sense of mission. I understood that even in the pain of loss, there was an opportunity to transform adversity into light for others. Every farewell is, indeed, a new beginning. I remembered the angel's voice, and that phrase echoed with the force of a divine commandment. Determined to honor my father's memory, I began to dedicate my time and energy to acts of solidarity and compassion. I joined community groups, organized gatherings to help those in need, and whenever possible, extended a hand to those suffering, as my father would have done. In conversations with friends and even strangers, I shared my experience, not to impress, but to show that even when everything seems lost, love and kindness can emerge from the depths of despair. These actions allowed me to transform the pain into fuel for change. Gradually, the feeling of guilt and the anguish of not having been by my father's side gave way to a renewed purpose: to live so that every gesture, every word of comfort, would be an extension of that legacy of love he cherished so much. And so, between solitary reflections and sincere dialogues with my family, I began to understand that the true mission on Earth is not just to survive, but to transform our journey into a continuous tribute to those we love, and those still seeking light amidst the darkness. Months passed since the last experience that changed my world, but the scars on my soul still whispered memories of a time when the boundary between life and death became thin. On a cloudy afternoon, as I recalled moments from my childhood, I was abruptly transported to an episode that until then seemed to belong only to the tales of the elders. On that day, while playing soccer with some friends in the park near my house, a lightning bolt tore through the cloud-laden sky. The thunderous sound and blinding flash were so intense that, for a brief moment, time seemed to freeze. I remember looking up, confused and astonished, when I felt the pure energy of the lightning envelop me. The sensation was that every particle of my being vibrated in an accelerated rhythm, and then everything turned to darkness. In the midst of this darkness, I felt the presence of something that seemed both familiar and terrifying. My mother, running desperately, shouting my name, echoed in the distance. But there, amidst my fragmented consciousness, another figure emerged, a being that alternated between the form of an angel and a demon. This entity assumed a threatening posture, with eyes that shimmered with a dark fury and an aura that seemed to defy existence itself. "Orion, you cannot escape your fears," murmured a guttural voice that made every fiber of my being vibrate. Before terror could completely take hold of me, a radiant light cut through the veil of darkness, and a new angel, with immense wings and a robe that shone as if woven with the colors of dawn, appeared by my side. He stood between me and the demonic figure, emanating an energy that dispelled fear. "Do not worry, Orion," said the angel with a calm and powerful voice. "I am here to protect you. Your destiny is grander than these earthly fears. Within me, a silent battle between darkness and light seemed to unfold as the angel guided me away from the abyss of despair. I felt my body being lifted, as if I were floating towards a place where time and space lost their significance. During this brief moment, visions appeared almost like a cinematic experience. I saw scenes of my future unfolding before my eyes. Vivid images of a successful entrepreneur, leading projects that transformed communities and inspired change. In another of these visions, I saw my mother, Evelyn, in a thriving flower shop. The place was not just a business, but a sanctuary of peace, where each flower seemed to tell a story of resilience and hope. I could see the serene smile on her face, an image that made me believe that despite the difficulties, life always found a way to bloom. The sensation of transcendence enveloped me completely, and the angel spoke again. "Orion, this glimpse of the future is not just a dream but a promise. You are destined to overcome the shadows of the past, and to illuminate the lives of others with the light that now resides within you." The comforting warmth of his words filled the space around me, as the dark entity slowly dissipated, powerless against the unwavering force of hope. When I finally regained full consciousness, I found myself lying on a hospital bed, surrounded by the concerned looks of the doctors and the anxious affection of my mother. Despite the shock and intensity of what I experienced, a certainty settled in my heart. My mission on Earth was far from over, and the visions I witnessed were beacons guiding me to a future full of purpose and renewal.